These medicines are only opening doors for us. They're just showing us what's possible. It's about going into, okay, what did it show me so that I have clarity on what I'm supposed to see? Like, what's behind the door?
Mm.
Now I can go into the work and actually take that thing that I'm doing and later not need any of those to do it. You can do it in meditation. You can do it in breath work. You can just sit and just be like, okay, what's the thing I need and let it drop through. What is the shadow that needs to come through? And can I clear it? Because light is what clears darkness. And so the
Mm.
more we can shine light in the darkness, the more we can clear it and the more ease and flow and joy we can have even in seeing the hard things. But knowing now how much I can see in myself, I think a lot of it is just to be the light for other people and to be the love for other people to say, do you want to let go of your baggage? You know, you don't have to keep that. I know it's comfortable, but like, do you want to just like leave it behind and see what's possible when it's lighter and easier and you're stronger?
Yes. Shine a light on it. Be brave. Be courageous. Go in and love on that part, right? And see when it
Mhm.
started and work with it from the wisdom of our evolution. It's
Yeah.
like be there, be fully present and available for profound
Right.
insights and healing. Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to Fire and Soul. Man, it is the space to deepen into our divine alignment and further activate our own unique inner awakenings. And it is no joke being alive on this planet at this time. It just gets better and better. I feel like we are in a profound initiatory shadow to light moment that's perpetual. And I got to meet today's guest, my dear friend Melanie Spring, who's right here.
Hi.
In one of those portals, a women's retreat she was you were a participant, but then also got to hold space for the women in a little bit of their medicine journey. And that was my first time meeting you, although I had seen lots of you in our mutual friend posts and things like that as she was sharing. And so I want to take a moment to just honor how we met and thread that through. But also speaking to, gosh, further activating our inner awakening. Melanie, you were just coming off of an incredible 3-day co-ed or women's retreat,
Go
not
ahead.
sure. Co-ed, okay. And we were talking about so much before I hit record. Literally, you came off of it late last night. What is alive and juicy in you right now?
I think sleep will be very shortly. Yeah, a lot of it is really the idea of curiosity. And I left the retreat with an intention of getting even more curious with everything that's happening. Because we hear things like everything happens as it's supposed to, or everything is happening for me. And last night, as we didn't get on the standby and I couldn't find the car, went to the wrong parking, like everything felt like it was going wrong, quote unquote. At the end of it, I was like, yeah, everything happens as it's supposed to. And sometimes it's just to teach us patience. Sometimes it's just to teach us how to just be in our bodies and not worry about it. Not because it's all going to work out the way we want it to, but that's what's been juicy with me the last 24
I
hours.
love it. That's like my favorite kind of juicy. It's like the mirror is always out. It doesn't mean that we're being shamed and punished. I do not believe in that old school 3D self-help world, which I used
Mhm.
to. So I'm so glad I graduated. But no, it's just like, yes, a beautiful opportunity to drop in and get present and
Yeah.
patient with our lives. But of course, the timing felt a little inconvenient. No joke.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not the way that I wanted it to be, but sometimes that's the releasing. It's the Oh, but it will happen as it's meant to, regardless
Yeah.
of how I'm feeling about it or how exhausted I am or what's really like, why does this happen to me? That kind of feeling. It's like that's the thing we need to learn is it's not this is happening to me. This is happening for me, regardless of what's happening.
Yeah, beautiful. And then we get to live in that beautiful reality when we get conscious of now life is happening through me.
Mm.
You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yes, exactly. I want to take a moment of when you helped life happen through me. I'm not even sure that you're fully aware of this. So when we did meet on that retreat, and I was talking to you, I think the next day about I was about to go into my first and only so far full send of, well, it wasn't a full send in that moment, mushrooms. It was going to be some sassafras to open our hearts and then drop us in with organic, eat 'em mushrooms. And
Mm.
golden teachers and white albino. You probably know that. I don't know much about the mushroom world. And all I know is I was like, I'm going to do 1 gram. That was the most I'd ever done. And that was fine. And I said, well, what do you think? And you're like, well, how deep of a healing do you want? And I was
Mm.
like, oh. And it just stuck with me. And I was like, yeah, why would I deny myself the full send? And where in life might I be doing that? And how common is that, right? One foot in, one foot out. So I got curious about what could that be like for me. And then I was like, what if it could be like a really blissed out journey and whatever I'm needing to see, which I knew I was about to see something deep. I was unlocking a memory from 5 years old that I finally felt brave enough to be with. And I just thought, what if the mushrooms can help me? And that's what I got. And it was a magical evening. And it
Mm,
was hard. It was needed.
yeah.
But I know that I would not have ever been able to go there. I just don't believe that I would have ever just chose to eat all those mushrooms,
Yeah.
which is a lot. If you hadn't said, well, how deep of a healing do you want? And I was like, I want the full healing. And
Yeah.
honest to God, it's now been almost 2 months later. That feels complete. So thank you.
Juicy.
Yeah, thank you for that because it was just a little moment in the bathroom as you and I were getting ready
Mhm.
to depart.
Right. Well, and sometimes I mean, I'll go back. Mushrooms only amplify our life.
Mm.
That's all they're doing. They're not saying, "Oh, I'm going to do something to you." It's, "Let me just show you and show you a magnification of what's really going on, or that little tiny feeling that you had. Let's go really, really big on it for just a moment." And what helps is you being willing to say, "I want all in." They're going to say, "Oh, good, let's go." But it's not about like, "Oh, but I don't want to have a hard journey. I don't want to have a bet." It's like, okay, again, this is all happening for me. This is happening through me. This is here anyway. So why not look at it?
I
That's the
love
scariest
that.
part. Like, it's already there. So why not look at it?
Well, that's the whole thing. Okay, now okay, we're just going to weave. I don't know where we're
I'm
going today,
here
but
for
okay,
this.
we're weaving. This is so great. I've been having a conversation with a few people lately and a group that I have had the honor to run for a few years. And we're talking about like now with the higher consciousness and the intensification of the divine frequencies really coming in, however people want to refer to that. There is some conversation that we might not need to or have to integrate shadow trauma, all the stuff, right? And that no, we can just, we can collapse timelines. We can just let them go. And I'm wondering if that could be possible. I just don't know that to be possible for my reality. But then again, we also create our own realities. In my experiences, the only way out is through. And
Mhm.
because I do love shadow work, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say I love it, but because I'm not scared of it,
Right.
right? And because I'm willing to go in, I recognize that the shadow is a master teacher in my life and that the shadow reveals the greatest gifts that I have been bestowed that get unlocked in the honoring of embracing my shadows. But curious what your thoughts are on in your opinion, do we need to transmute our karma into dharma, or is there another way with the assistance of these accelerated higher consciousness energies coming through?
Ooh, that's a big question. I
I
love that we're
know.
going here.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, I think one thing I'm very clear on is that these medicines, whatever medicine you choose, and it doesn't have to be psychedelics, it could be any medicine, these medicines are only opening doors for us. They're not doing the work for us. They're not making it happen. They're just showing us what's possible. And it's really up to us to integrate the work that we do in these things because it's not about the medicine again. It's about going into, okay, what did it show me so that I have clarity on what I'm supposed to see? Like what's behind the door?
Hmm.
Now I can go into the work and actually take that thing that I'm doing and later not need any of those to do it. You can do it in meditation, you can do it in breath work. You can just sit and just be like, okay, what's the thing I need and let it drop through. But most of us aren't connected to our bodies enough to be connected to the minds that we have because they're going crazy to connect to our soul, which is full alignment to be able to say, okay, what is this shadow that needs to come through? And can I allow it in a way that allows me to not just go, oh, I can't believe this is happening again, and to clear it because light is what clears darkness. And so the
Mm.
more we can shine light in the darkness, the more we can clear it and the more ease and flow and joy we can have even in seeing the hard things.
Beautifully said. Well, no wonder you were an international keynote speaker. So well said. So it sounds to me, if I were to summarize that, and again, there's no right or wrong here. We're all just like dreaming our realities up, right? that the transmutation, the integration would still be key, right? So
Mhm.
shining a light on, and I wasn't even referencing any medicinal ceremony. It was just in general
Right.
life, right? Where the mind is thinking about things. But if we
Hmm.
really drop into our hearts, is it possible? This is just a rhetorical because I have no idea. Is it
Yeah.
possible to shine a light? No, actually, I think this conversation was they didn't even want to shine a light. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Men at
Right.
work, it doesn't matter, right? Like, just keep going, people. And I'm like, I feel like it matters. But that's me. And I'm a little attached to this idea that shine a light on it. Be brave, be courageous, go in and love on that part, right? And see when it
Mhm.
started and see what it's scared of and the burden that it's carrying and work with it, from the wisdom of our evolution. And it sounds like you're in agreement on that.
I am. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
also think what just came up as you were saying that was that a lot of us, especially those of us who've done a lot of this work and seen it and are like, oh, why wouldn't everyone want to do this? There's a
Yeah.
little bit, and I get flavors of this sometimes of not judgment, but almost with like, why wouldn't you want to see this? Like, what's like, why wouldn't you possibly want to clear this for yourself so you don't have to walk around with all this darkness in there? But at
Mm.
the same time, it's almost like, oh yeah, I remember feeling that way and being a little scared of like, yeah, but what could come up? And it's almost like I have to take myself back to that and go, oh yeah, I can just love you and allow you to find it when it's time and show you that it's possible through the things that I'm doing and how you're moving things and be able to see, do you see how much softer I can be now because I'm not
Mm.
just dragging all this baggage with me anymore. But to be able
Mm.
to really say, do you want to let go of your baggage? You know, you don't have to keep that. I know it's comfortable, but like, do you want to just like leave it behind and see what's possible when it's later and easier and you're stronger?
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. That's how I feel about it. But I also do remember very vividly, as recent as almost 2 months ago, talking to you, like, yeah, I think I'm just going to go in light. Well, what is that driving that thought? I'm going into a journey where I know it's impeccably held.
Right.
It's got like just beautiful space holders. And
Hmm.
um and yet I was like, yeah, I'm only going to do 1 gram. Well, the fear was driving. Did I really want to shine a light on that particular thing? And then
Right.
it was interesting because I did an Akashic record reading the next day. I've
Yeah.
only done two and by the same woman. And it was literally, I think, no, hours later. You and I left like at 9
That's
a.m.
same day. Hmm.
Same day. It was like 3 or 4 hours later. And all the records wanted to show me was this thing from 5 years old because it
Mm,
was time. And I was like, okay, got it. You know what I mean? Like between your
yeah.
message. Yeah, so I'm with you on that. Like, I wish everyone could go in and be that
Right.
brave, but I also remember the days that I drank a lot of alcohol and smoked a shit ton of cigarettes to numb
Right.
out any of that, but would have told you, no, life is great. Are you kidding? Like, I'm of the light, I'm successful. Look
Right.
at my life. Have you seen it? And I was very clear to make sure that you saw it.
Right.
Right? So,
Because it wasn't
yeah,
all rainbows and sunshine. It was like, yeah,
no.
the numbing and yeah, I don't want to feel this stuff. Or why is that coming up? Like, oh, shove it back down. But knowing now how much I can see in myself, I think a lot of it is just to be the light for other people and to be the love for other people to say, hey, so I walked through this and I can take your hand and walk through it with you too if you don't want to do it by yourself. Because I had people who did that for me and have even just the conversation we had for 2 minutes, it was me just taking your hand and going, are you sure? And me being willing to do that just for a moment, even if I never saw you again, I wasn't doing it for me. I wasn't doing it to be like, oh, well, I think that you, it was like, well, what would you really, really like to do? And you're going to be there anyway. Why not go all the way in?
Yes. And now I'm just like, I don't know if that'll be my one and only like full send mushroom journey. I have no idea. I don't feel called to much medicine anymore these days, but when I do it, I'm going to go all in. It's
Yeah.
like be there, be fully present and available for profound
Right.
insights and healing. Yeah. So thank you for that.
I love how you circled that all the way back around. That was a beautiful little like,
I
oh,
do a lot of circuitous just sharing and like I'm like, I think this is going somewhere. Let's land it
yeah,
at some point. But I also wanted to
beautiful.
circle, thank you. I wanted to circle back to something else that I saw on your social media, and it was before your most recent retreat that was
Hmm.
literally ended yesterday.
Yep.
Um, and you talked so openly and honestly about hating your body and just that journey. And I have such a similar journey, and I can't say that it's 100% done. I don't think it ever is. I just have a subtler relational dynamic with it these days. And so when I'm really stressed or anxious, it's going to be intense. And most of the
Yeah.
time it's not, and so I would say like by 90%, I feel really good and different.
Yeah.
But to see that level of honesty come through you, because I share that openly here. But like social media followers, LinkedIn, whatever, email list, it's not going to know that because I don't really
Right.
write. I like to talk. And but to see that in written form on social media, I was like, that's when I saw our mutual friend Darla, I think a few days later, and I was just like, deep bow to Melanie, because that level of honesty shows me how much you know yourself. And you
Mm,
can only guide others to the degree and the capacity that you know yourself, so that you can then have the capacity to be with them
yeah.
wherever they are, right? So I don't know if there's a question there, but I'd love for you to just, yeah, weave into that.
Yeah. Well, it's like the idea that we can't walk someone through a fire we haven't walked through before.
Yeah.
And sure, we could go together, but we'd probably get burned as we're going. And it's like, okay, I've gone through the fire, I've come back, I've figured out a path, but I'm also not just gonna take you exactly where it's not going to burn you. I'm going to allow you to walk with and not have to feel like you're going to step on landmines the whole time. I'm going to be there in case you do step on one to help you soothe your burns if you need to. And so I think it's a lot of we can only help our other people as far as we've grown ourselves. And so when people are first getting into like I don't call myself a coach, but coaching or guiding or supporting or walking alongside people,
Mm,
some people will say, "Oh, but I don't have a certification or a degree or a whatever." And I'm like, "No, no, no. Here's the deal. Each level you get to, which there's no real levels, but you know what I mean. If we're in the 3D physical world, there's levels. So each level we get to, we can help someone to that
mhm,
space.
mhm.
And so we can, like, I think about the last 4 years of doing this specific work that I do and how much the first group of people is so different than the people I just spent time with this week. And I know that it's about me attracting that energy because I have the ability to hold the space for something so much tougher than I could have 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Deeper, deeper is
Deeper.
what it
Yeah.
sounds, right?
Right.
Deeper, more
Exactly.
real, right? Yeah, because the
hmm
more that we go on the journey and walk along that bridge, the more that the masks begin to fall off. Not always, and
Right.
not for everyone, but when you've walked that walk and you're on that walk, you recognize it in others. And I was just like, that is a sister on the
Yeah.
path that I happen to be walking. Is it the best path, the right path? No, but it is a
No.
path that I recognize and I honor.
Yeah.
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 So, whew, is there anything I want to weave back into a little bit of your backstory and anything
Yeah.
that feels alive for you to share that got you to these 4 years and what's coming up next? But is there anything that you would like to expand on about that journey of self-love from self-loathing, about body
Mm.
and just being comfortable in your own skin? Again, talking about that through line,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, and I've been calling it the original AI, aligned intuition.
So good.
And it's about how we have this human technology that most of us have no idea what to do with. And
Mm,
I like to think I have a client who's a sex and intimacy coach, and we talk a lot about the chakras and how women tend to go from here down, where we get really divine connections even as children, and we're like really tapped into our intuition, our imagination, and we start going through all these things and go all the way down to safety, which is typically like toward the end of like, oh, now I'm fully embodied, now I'm fully here. Where men start from the bottom up, where they're talking about poop and they're all this stuff, like it's all coming from up here, like from the bottom up, and then connecting to the divine, which is their path to go the other direction. And we talk about how this human technology is like being in your body. So as women, we're typically shamed or we hate our bodies or we're not in our bodies or we're not even connected. And the first time
mm.
I did a medicine ceremony and I didn't know that I wasn't in my body until I got out and was like, I'm in my body. Oh my, I got home and I was like, honey, I've got a body. You want to use it? Like, I'm so excited to have a body. He's like, yeah, you have a body. I'm like, no, 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 no. But like, I'm in it now. And it used to like, I would fall all the time. I would hit myself on things all the time. I couldn't drink water without putting my tongue out because I didn't know where my cup was. Like, that's how
Mm,
disconnected my soul and my mind were from my body.
mm.
And when I got into it, I was like, I've always been pretty confident, but I was like, oh. this is amazing. Like my inflammation started going away and I started
Mm,
getting really into weight training and just feeling good in my body and knowing when I'm
mm,
hungry and all of, all that stuff. But once I did, it was really that, oh, wait, I don't have to hate myself. So the post you were talking about was I've hated my face most of my life.
mm,
Like I've been told I was
mm.
beautiful. I've been told like I've been, yeah, 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 that's nice. And I tended to have more of like a stronger jawline and big cheeks and, like
Same.
like not the, oh, this fits into societal norms kind of thing. And at the same time, I started cutting all my hair off and I'd see my grandpa in the mirror and I'd be like, oh, great, I look like my grandpa, like that kind of stuff. But once I started going,
Mm,
oh my gosh, Melanie, you are so beautiful, not faking it
mm,
till I made it, but learning it until I earned it and going,
mm,
okay, but I can embody this and believe it. My body started listening. Like I feel more beautiful than I've ever felt in my life
mm.
because I decided that I was beautiful, not because I was just like, oh, well, I got this fix and that fix and this thing
Yes.
done and whatever. It was no, 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 just as I am. That's it. And so that journey, I think, was really about something my husband said years ago. He said, I can't wait for you to love your body. And I was like, yeah, when I get to, he's like, no, 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 as it is.
Mm,
I cannot wait for you to love your body as it is. And when I finally did, he was like, oh, it's so
mm,
nice to
mm,
have you just love it just the same because it's just a container. That's the funny part is we have these containers that we're so worried about. It's like, yeah, but what if we tapped into our intuition? What if we worried about that divine connection more than we worried about what pants look like on us? Oh my gosh.
mm.
The
God, it's so
aliens would
true.
be like, "Are you guys kidding me? You guys look weird anyway."
The original AI, that is so good. Yeah. And I've had such a similar journey, and I'll tie it into a medicine journey briefly because I've definitely shared in great detail, so you all can hear about that late 2019 when I went to Rhythmia and sat with ayahuasca for the first time. And anyway, yeah, I was in such deep body dysmorphia and but didn't even know it. Like kind of knew it, but was not conscious, just like you're like, no, like I'm good, I'm confident. Like, have you seen my success? That kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Very, very shadowy. Um and yeah, the second night, the divine feminine night,
Mm.
I was like 3 cups in. I was just all in. And so I was, yeah, then she just very lovingly placed me over burning coals like a pig would be burned, like on a spick. So I'm simultaneously being burned alive, but of course you're on the medicine, so you're like, oh wow, this is interesting, right? Like it's just happening.
Yeah.
While also she was tattooing in black ink every annihilating word I'd ever said about my body to the
Mm.
point where there wasn't just a single spot on my skin that was just skin. It was all black. And then
Wow.
phew, I just disintegrated. And then I kind of woke up and then I actually tried to sit up and she just like sat me back down and made me go back into it and kind of like begin to understand what this means.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, that was the beginning of my journey because it was very clear that that was such a gift. So it shined a light on my life and where I was. And then from there, I got heavier than I'd ever been about a year and a half later. And I never loved myself more. I was like 25 pounds heavier during the COVID era.
Yeah.
And and I just like remember looking in the mirror and I was like, I look 8 months pregnant and I love this little belly, right? Because I knew I was, coping and
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
And I recently went through something again. But yeah, and by the way, I don't always have it that way. Sometimes it's like, wow, hard to see it, hard to be with it, getting older, seeing the skin
Yeah.
shift.
Hormones, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
girl, menopause, I'm in it. But it's like just like you talking about, like, I don't want to do surgeries. Like, I got rid of the lash extensions, the hair extensions. Like, I really want to honor,
Right.
just, yeah, the rites of
It's the body you were
passages.
given. It's the container
Yes.
for your soul. It's like, oh, you were gifted this thing to take care of because your soul has this experience that it wants to have. And so many people are like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I don't need to take care of my body because I'm connected over here. And it's like, but your body won't be here anymore, which means your soul can't do its work here. That there's a connection there. It's an important piece of the whole connection. It's not just like, oh, it's just a body. It's not. It's the container. So you can do the work here, which means if you could take care of it, you live longer, you do more work, you touch more people, you feel better. and you can actually really show up for other people because it isn't just about me and what I get out of this. This is about how can I really truly be of service, and I have to take care of me, which is not selfish, to be able to help other
Mm.
people.
Mm. I could hang out on this conversation all day because I only just recently started to honor that. My whole life, decades since I was
Mm.
in my teens, decades. I never had to be asked to exercise. I never needed an accountability buddy. I never needed a challenge to like fire
Right.
me up. I was in a spin or a yoga class or on a trail 5, 6 days a week. And I loved it. Like it was
Yeah.
just I loved it. And then something shifted, a few years back when everything closed down and that was devastating for a lot of us. And then it was just really hard to get back into that groove. And then I became sedentary. I was like,
Right.
whose life is this? Whose
Yeah.
body is this that's sore just to bend down and pick up my cat, right? And I was like, and then I got really scared, Melanie, because I was like, I don't care anymore. And I was like, is that true? Do I not care? And I was like, I don't think I care. I was
Hmm.
like, what? I'm not interested in caring. I don't want to care. I was
Yeah.
like, and my friend Bonnie, she was like, well, maybe pray for the willingness to care. And I was like, I don't even want to pray for that. So I
Right.
had to go through this whole season, and I'm not there anymore. But for those who might be there, I imagine it's quite a few. What do you have to offer them? That they're just
Mm.
in that they don't think they care, but of course they care, but they're in a pattern.
Right. Yeah, well, that's typically
Mm,
a pattern interrupt of some sort. So for
yeah.
years, I was a runner, and I had like really terrible asthmatic bronchitis as a kid. So I had like if I started breathing too heavy, I would cough my face off to the point that I would look like I had asthma. So I was like,
Mm,
oh, I'm not a runner. I can't do sports, that kind of thing. And one day I had found out that I had this like stress disorder that
mm,
caused me to feel like my lady bits were on fire. And I was like, oh my God, this is really bad. What do I? And the lady kept telling me, she's like, well, what do you do to not stress out? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, go see a movie so nobody can talk to me. This is even before cell phones were a big deal. Like it's not like everyone had phones with them all the time. So I was just like, oh, I go to a movie theater. And she's like, okay, maybe try finding something that you cannot be stressed out about. And I realized that I couldn't eat the way that I wanted to because of the stress disorder because it caused more pain. So eating
mm,
healthy caused it to be worse, which is awful. I found running because of this, and I started running and I cleared my asthmatic bronchitis completely. Like I don't have any of that anymore. I was started doing races. I started just feeling better in my body. And my body, I started getting connected to it. And then I could eat healthy because I was keeping my stress levels low.
mm, mm,
And so like I didn't have the full connection to my body, but I started realizing like, oh, I can work with this thing. I've got this. So that was my mid 20s. And by the time I hit my late 30s, my husband and I met and I moved to Denver, which is at 5,000 feet. And I just couldn't breathe and run. Like it just didn't be, wasn't something that I wanted to do. And I had had like solid 12, 15 years of, I love to run. I'm a runner. That's who I am.
mm,
I'm a runner. And I just like, I would get up and run 6 miles in the morning and not even think
mm,
about it.
mm,
But then when I stopped, which is typically I found with women, is we have this, we are this for a certain amount of time. And then something just shifts all of a sudden. And that's what happened is something just completely went sideways. I was like, I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't know that I'm a runner anymore. I don't know that I want to do that. And
mm,
so I started doing yoga and I started doing weight training and I started doing like I started adding things that just felt really good for me at the time. And even recently I started running again, but only because I wanted to. And I think a lot of us just
mm,
torture our bodies saying,
mm,
"Oh, I have to do this in order for me to fill in the blank."
mm.
But so many of us could just dance and be happy and our bodies will feel happy, but we're not connected to our bodies enough to ask it like, hi dude, what do you want? What's up? Hey
Yeah,
lady, what do we need to do today? And we don't
yeah.
listen. We're like, even now I still think sometimes I really need to get to the gym, and I'm like, but do I really want to go to the gym today, or is it just like, so it's listening to those little voices and not just sabotaging yourself but also
Mm,
not forcing yourself to do something that doesn't feel good for you. And
mm,
so for me, it's really tapping into that. What feels really good for me to do today? And I know I have a plan, like I gotta run today, or I gotta go for a walk, or I gotta. So one thing I'll tell you is that this year I committed to doing 30 minutes of movement every single day. And I
mm.
think I've missed 4 days total so far this year.
Wow, what a
And
beautiful
that is such
devotion.
like a simple thing. It's not like I have to work out 30 minutes every day. It's going for a walk in the park with my husband after work.
Hmm.
That's my 30 minutes. But I'm like, every day I got to get my 30 minutes in. And it's kept me sane, I feel like, because it's that mind connection with my body that I'm like, ooh, now I could just love my body and I could just be nice to it instead of trying to torture
Hmm.
it into submission because that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It's, yeah, it's certainly not sustainable and not after a certain age, right? Like you're just like, yeah, I already went through that,
Yeah.
not nice try,
Hmm.
ego. Um, yeah, for me, if I were to offer anything, I would say, I love what you said, 30 minutes of just movement. Just like for me, where it started was no phone and a 20-minute walk. And
Mm.
just with my pup, so I could get present to hearing bird song or the clouds, and also it's still pretty good temperature here in Texas. In about a month, I don't know if I'd be doing that in the middle of the day. But that was like it started to like move me a little bit. And then before I knew it was like I've had this membership at the gym that's part of our whole community thing. And I have not gone. I've been here for 6 months. I have not even walked inside. six
Mm.
months. So I got my little fob and I went like 3 days later and I got on the spin bike, which was my love, thousands of spin classes. And I started crying and I was like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? But it was a pattern interrupt. But if I hadn't gone gradually of just like giving myself that graceful transition, the gracious transition of just going on a little walk, just 15, 20 minutes. So wherever you are, start is my point for our
Just do
listeners and viewers.
something. Find
Yeah.
something to commit to. And usually it's an everyday thing for a certain amount of time just to get it in your system. Like whatever that thing, 10 minutes of meditation every it's like whatever is the pattern interrupt, a little thing that you can just say, okay, I'm going to do this every day for a certain amount of time.
Mm,
I'll tell you this, one of the things I committed
yes.
to almost 2 years ago was I was going to do my morning pages, which is Julia
Yes.
Cameron from her The Artist's Way. And I started reading her book and I've done it for years, but I didn't know that's where it came from. And I was like, oh, good job, Julia. This is kind of cool. So I do 3 pages every day for 30 days is what I told myself. 570 days later, I'm still doing it. Just
Whoa.
because I decided I would do it for 30 days and just keep
Mm,
going. And so
mm,
today was 570 days. And I've missed, I think, a total of 3 weeks of writing over that time.
mhm.
But for almost 2 years, I think that's pretty dang good.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That is like a whole different level of devotion. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, Gosh, I feel like I should have started here, but I'm loving this conversation so much. I feel like I'm talking to a long lost, soul sister.
Mm.
Can you walk us back to what you're doing now, but where you were in closing that gap? And then I want to weave into tender surrender.
Fun. Okay. I'll give you the quick and dirty version of this. So I just recently finally defined my role, which is so nice because I'm not somebody who's ever liked titles. Even when I had my branding agency, I was the chief inspiration officer because I was like, I don't want to be the CEO. That's not my deal. Yet, one of the things that I finally realized recently is I'm a brand muse.
Mm,
So I'll start with the end in mind. That's what I do now is I help people understand who they really are and then show up that way. I do this
yes.
with companies. I go in and look at the entire company and put together a corporate retreat for them that's not unlike anything they've ever seen, or
Mm,
help somebody build a new business, kind of take a left turn in their career. I'm not a coach. I'm more of like a strategic advisor slash partner slash person for a shorter period of time. Like I come
mhm,
in, I do my work, I start the fire, and I let them know how to keep it burning.
mhm.
But in the original, like my original iteration of this, I owned my own website company when I was 20.
Wow.
So I started in college. I was the webmaster for my school. I built a website company. And then I went off to do a bunch of different work in headhunting and let's see, marketing and sales. And like I did newspaper sales back in the early 2000s in Santa Cruz, California. Like that kind of stuff. I did classified ads, but I learned how to do selling, hiring, and marketing, which is most of what a company needs to know how to do. And then I learned the back end of like manufacturing companies by doing that. I started working behind the scenes, like understanding what the culture looks like. And at the end of the day, I became, my boss asked me in 2009 what I would do if he couldn't pay me anymore. And I said I'd work for myself. And he said, great, you have 30 days. So 16 years later,
Wow, I love
I
it.
I owned a branding agency for 8 years and I helped. behind the scenes, I made boring look sexy. So I helped companies with their logos and their marketing materials and their websites and all of that stuff until I got totally burned out doing it, realizing that later I learned I'm a manifester, which we never do things for long periods of time. And I tried so hard to be like a generator, just pushing through and making it work because there was something wrong with me. And once I found out that I'm somebody who likes to master something and then I'm bored with it, which
Hmm.
is why I need to work in different industries and do different things. But basically over time, I quit that and became an international keynote speaker, accidentally doing that as a full-time job, started training people on how to do that by being themselves, using my branding work and helping them step on stage that way. And now I weave all of that stuff into the work I do now, which is we run a community called the Brilliant Rebellion. And we help people really just have community around personal growth. So if they have a coach or they have a guide or they have somebody they're working with, they can have conversations with other people while that's happening, or they can just be a part of a space that they can have conversations about the stuff that they're struggling with or having a hard time with and just need support. So I do the one-on-one work and corporate work separately, and then we have a community. So it all ends up
Okay.
being branding and who you are and how you show up at the end of the day and how you can speak your truth. So
When you were a little girl, what did you think you wanted to do or be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a singer and a teacher.
Well, you sing in different ways, right? And you are a teacher.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, just you're
100%
more
the
like
person that
substitute
was.
teacher, short term,
Yes,
summer
exactly.
school teacher,
I
camp
just drop
counselor.
in, do my work, and then see ya. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I love the way that connects together. I am a manifesting generator and I'm still like blown away at how many things like I can just kind of keep going, but it can
Right.
only keep going if it really lights me up. The moment that
Oh,
I'm done,
totally.
it is done and then I'm off to go and manifest and then generate
Mhm.
the next thing. But yeah,
Yes.
human design has been very fascinating for me. What about Gene Keys? Is that your world at all?
I started learning it and then someone took my book and I haven't gone back to it yet. I need to get another
Okay.
one because those books are huge. So
I
like
know.
she borrowed it and took it to Europe with her and I've never gotten it back. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll have to
well,
get a new one.
I kind of feel like people get into one or the other camp, right? We're kind of
Mhm.
like, yeah. For me, when I was told by Richard Rudd, of course, who is the man who the Gene Keys came through, he says that human design is more in the masculine and that the Gene
Mhm.
Keys is more in the feminine. I don't really know because I don't know
Well, it's
enough
because the
about.
feminine is so complicated, right?
Well, I'll tell you, the Gene Keys, when it was first introduced to me by a dear friend of mine in 2021, I was like, it just went right over. I'm like, what?
Right?
This stuff is so boring. Like, this is just judgmental, right? Like, I had
Like,
no time for
no.
that because I actually had to slow down and actually get present to it and actually do the work. It wasn't just telling me, I had to go and find it. I had to pause and contemplate it.
Mhm.
Anyway, but that work is, yeah, I love both, but the Gene
Yeah.
Keys probably has my heart at right at this point because it saved my life. Quite frankly, it saved
Yeah.
the quality of my consciousness. And I thought my consciousness was great, but I was like, oh, this next level. Yes, to your
Yeah.
point. Okay, so Brilliant Rebellion, 4 years in, what has that journey been like? And what inspired choosing your the embodiment of this year 2025 to be tender surrender? I'm huge on sort of one or two word intentions for the year, and I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got
Mhm.
it all. And this year it's miracles, and I'm watching just I'm like, why did I call every year miracles? Right?
Seriously.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so Brilliant Rebellion, what's
Mhm.
that journey like? How is it to run a community like that? What are you learning? Where are you being humbled? All the things. And then what inspired tender surrender? There's something there.
Yeah. And they do go together. As you asked that, I was like, how do these go together? And I was like, oh, they definitely do. Based
Of
on
course they
even just
do.
the what we just talked about. So
Mhm.
as a manifestor, I have a 5-year cycle. That's what I've
Mhm.
learned is just looking back. I'm like, oh yeah, by 3 years in, I'm like, I gotta start working on the next thing. And then I need to put things in place. Otherwise, it's like my branding agency. If I had known this back then, I would have sold it. I would have set it up to sell it, to be like, oh, I'm building this thing so that I can sell it. Oh,
Mhm.
that would have been smart other than just quitting and being like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore. Blah, delete.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I've learned that I have a 5-year cycle. And so I'm 4 years into this 5-year cycle. And what my husband and I realized is we became business partners last year.
Mhm.
And he's a manifesting generator who's very much like all the ideas, all the ideas. Okay, got to give him a project, got to keep him chomping on something all the time, which is great. And I've learned that the community piece of things for me is the biggest, longest
Mhm.
lasting thing I can build. So, regardless of how I'm feeling or what project I want to be working on or what's next for me, which is more about like the private work that I do or the talk that I'm giving or whatever that is, there's a 5 year cycle for that. This community is something that we're like, we need something that we can have as stability, not for us necessarily, because it's actually a nonprofit. We're doing a lot of really big give
Mm,
back work with it, but it's being able to have that like consistency of the community and to be able to grow that into the thing we really
mhm,
would, we know people need more than anything.
mm.
But it actually goes back to when I had a branding agency. Um, so funny that this happened. I hosted 100 events in the first 5 years of my business.
Wow.
And so I would get
That's
people
insane.
together.
Wait, how's that
Yeah.
even possible? That's like one every other weekend ish?
No, 100
No,
events. No,
no.
that's
Yeah.
like once every 2 months or so.
Mm,
So
mm-hmm.
yeah, so basically what happened is I set up these events to get people together to be the hub. Like my branding agency was the hub for these things because people who are introverted or people who are extroverted could be in the same room together and I could be like, "Oh, hey Michelle, who would you like to meet today? Oh, let me introduce you to this accountant
Mm-hmm.
person." Or,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, who would you like to meet?" "Oh, you're looking." I've had people get married from my events like just because
Mm.
it's getting people together, not to I mean, I used to do it around Twitter. So people would say instead of "what do you do," which was in DC, everyone says "what do you do?" I would
Mm-hmm.
say "what do you tweet about?" And
Mm-hmm.
people back then had like the little topics that they focused on was these
Mm-hmm.
are the things I tweet about. So I would get people together to do this. And I built a huge network of people across the country because DC is so transient that people just kept moving away and moving away and moving away. And I realized I have a huge network of people. Like if someone says, someone asked me this the other day. She's a massage therapist and she's a manifesting generator who's like, I know I'm going to need to do something different in a couple of years. So maybe I want to start a massage school. And I was like, oh, I actually know a lady who helps people do that. And she's like, seriously? I'm like, no, literally, I either know someone who knows someone or I know someone. So you would tell me what you're looking for, and I know a person who can do that or a person who knows a person who can do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I learned that I was putting all these people together in ways that I'm like, well, what if we just got a community together of people who could grow together? And then the more conscious I became, the more I realized we keep losing friends because as we grow, some people don't grow with us.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's not that that makes them bad. It just I can't have a conversation here with someone who's here. And I want to have these conversations. Like, sure, sometimes I'll have those, but these are the conversations I want to be having. So, what if I got those people together because they're not in any one little community, they're spread across everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was the idea for the community. And then this is really teaching me tender surrender this year because the bigger picture of that is my husband started testosterone therapy last year, and he's only
Mm-hmm.
33. So, we're 11 years apart. And he basically had to go through his teenage years in about 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
which was a lot because he basically stopped growing at about 13, like 12 or 13 was when we were thinking. And so he went through all of the teenage stuff, like the aggression and defensiveness and like he started crawling up my leg for the first time ever. Like we were best friends. Like we love each other. We were just like super best like snuggle buddies. Like kind of intimate but like not intimate in the way that most married couple well, I guess younger married couples are. But basically I was like, "Oh, well maybe there's just how married life is."
Mm-hmm.
And then he got his testosterone fix and whoo, no, that's not how it is. Like it's like I have this new person living with me. So this year I decided my year was tender surrender because he's in his masculine now and I can be fully in my feminine for the first
Mm-hmm.
time ever. And so
Mm-hmm.
we almost got divorced a couple times last year, which was like a lot of work to choose to just keep going in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like, oh, okay, now we're here. And it's even with the community, it's surrendering with whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. Whatever the next thing is, it'll present itself. Whoever I'm supposed to spend time with, that'll be here. And as long as I'm open to that and willing to look at it, it's going to be amazing. And
Yeah,
so,
wow. I have not ever heard of testosterone, what is it called? Therapy?
therapy. Mhm.
I've not heard of that for a man who's older because it didn't happen at a time when puberty is hitting, right? So
Yes.
what, I mean, what is that? I'm just asking because I have no idea.
Yeah, he's a bit of an anomaly because most guys who
Hmm.
are in their 50s and 60s are on some sort of testosterone
Yeah.
pellets or injections or something
Hmm.
because their testosterone goes down. Just like our hormones go
Yeah.
down, so do theirs. But his is they're thinking environmental, religious, like there's just a whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
like oppressions of his system that
Mm-hmm.
it never fully allowed his testosterone to come in. And so he's just been living kind of like half alive for a long time.
Mm.
They're thinking 20 years or so that he just kind
Oh.
of was like just kind of trying to get through, just like, oh, I can just power my way through. And his cortisol just ran out one day. And he's like, I just can't keep powering through anymore. And so
Mm.
he went to go get to get his hormones checked. And they're like, yeah, you don't even have any. Like, so he
Wow.
started doing this and he gained 30 pounds of muscle in 3 months, two, six
Whoa.
weeks actually. He went from 142, he's 6 feet tall, 142, which is what I weigh, to 172 in 6 weeks.
My goodness.
Like
Wow.
jacked, like his neck got big, his face got big, his hair got curly. It was just like a whole like,
Whoa.
who is this man? And so me having to go, oh, you're a man now. That's so nice. There's a no, I don't have to be that anymore because I grew up with a mom who was like, if you can't do it for yourself, no one's going to do it for you. You got to make sure you
Mhm.
can do it. And blah, 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 like all the masculine,
Mhm.
which is great for some things, but others it's like,
Mm. Mm.
but being able to let him fully be in his masculine, that means I had to learn how to be more tender because he could be a safe space for me to finally just like soften into myself.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so, as much as I wanted to do surrender, I was like, that feels like a roller coaster with my hands up, which is not the plan. So, I'm like, what if it was just like softening into the surrender of what's possible? So,
Mm. I had no idea you were so funny, by the way. So I'm really appreciating that about you right now. But I think that so many women listening and watching can really relate if they're in long-term relationships, irrespective of their husband or partner, not having gone through like traditional testosterone growth or integration. I don't even know what that is, but um, so that tender surrender, I mean, I think a lot of women probably long for what you're describing, but then
mhm.
when it actually shows up, there is that whole process. So you've spoken about the external, I imagine, I mean, we don't need to speak about him on the internal, but I'm
Right.
really happy that you guys are together and committed
Same.
and
Yeah.
not happy because you're committed, but happy because this feels like it's really right, aligned for you. But
Mhm.
can you speak more to the parts of yourself that you had to meet that required you to
Do we have two
embody?
more hours?
We have time. We have time.
Yeah.
This is the juicy stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is the brilliant rebellion because we're
Yeah.
going against all the ways in which our patterns have told us this is how it has to be.
Right.
All of our own defenses, right? And our own safeguarding that doesn't serve our highest evolution. So yet again, a catalyst was presented on your path and
Mhm.
the corners of intimacy. And
Yeah.
so, like, I know it, I can feel it. I'm about to open my heart to my beloved husband. And yeah, I feel he's in the field. And
Mhm.
so this is like probably medicine for me too, but also women who've been in a long relationship, like they want to surrender.
Right.
Yeah. So wherever you want to expand on that.
Oh man, we could go in so many different directions. And I'll say what just came up for me as you were saying that was that I've worked with so many women who have had to be the masculine in their relationship for reasons that like they were momming their husband because their husband didn't have the mother figure that they needed to be able to or the father figure, whatever those it doesn't really matter the reasons why, but a lot of women tend to get into their masculine and then they start mothering the other in some way that's like, oh, well, but they can't, they're just a child. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, if you're going to do that, of course they're going to act like a child because you both decided to do this together. And I did that
Mm,
with Dan for a long time because I was like, why can't you just grow up? Like, why am I having to mother you? Like, I don't understand this. And I was like, oh, I'm doing that. Okay. So me
mm.
having to step out of that and go, okay, I don't have to be the masculine. I don't have to be the mother. I don't have to be the like, can't you just grow up? It can also be me going, wait, but who am I in this moment?
Mm.
And what am I feeling? And having him go through that, I was sharing with a friend who's a functional medicine doctor. she was asking, how did it feel for you to go through like having your husband completely change, like physically change, but also like emotionally changing, internally change. Like he's done a lot of growth work and I'm so happy for that, but he just became a different person.
Mm,
And I told her it was like my husband died and I never got to grieve him. And then this
mhm,
new hot guy shows up who looks similar to my husband, but doesn't act like him. And I don't get to grieve the death of my husband. And this new guy wants to date me, but doesn't know how to because he is still trying to find his footing in his body and who he is and his hormones and what he's feeling. So he's trying to
mm,
like figure out how to wrestle this lion that's inside of him
mm,
while I'm sitting here going, but I just lost somebody that I love
mm,
so dearly. And it was
mm,
reconciling that as I was doing that and trying not to make him bad for it because I was so happy that it happened. Yet
mhm,
there was still a part of me that can be also true that I was so sad that my really gentle husband disappeared.
mm,
And
mm,
so being able to like really sit in that space of
mm,
me having to love myself through the process was like, oh my gosh, some of the deepest work I've ever had to do.
mm,
And I just posted something today about this that was like, you can sit in 100 ayahuasca ceremonies, you can do as much growth as humanly possible, but when you find that person and you call in that person to be your other, that is the hardest work you will ever do in your life. And I'm
mm,
like, it's the truest thing because I could say at any moment, forget it, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore. Yet it would be doing a disservice to the man I chose to be with and
mhm,
his willingness to step fully into himself and expressing himself and to me, and for me to choose every single day to just love him regardless of what's happening, because he is the person who's here to teach me the most about myself.
mm, mm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. So many people these days are talking about, how hard relationships are, and yet there's also so many people talking about it is not hard at all. What are your
Oh,
thoughts on that? Yeah, who? Quite a few
yeah.
people. In fact, someone that you were just on retreat with, I mean, she
Yeah.
is just insistent that her relationship is so easeful because it's just she says it's God. And I know
Yeah.
so many people right now
Hmm.
and that literally in my life and but if you were to talk to me, I think I'm about 8 years older than you. So if you were to
Hmm.
talk to me even 10 years ago, even 6 years ago, heck, even 4 years ago, I didn't have really anyone in my life that represented that. So I don't know what that means. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's for everyone, but I want to believe that it's
Yeah.
possible that a relationship at a certain point can be a little more easeful.
Hmm.
But I also recognize that what your journey is very different. And I mean, that is a real
Yeah.
death and
Yeah.
rebirth. And both of you don't even know how to be in this new identity, and so
Right.
it's like not only choosing each other, but like meeting each other,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because he can't meet you. He doesn't know who you are anymore because he's meeting you from a new perspective.
Totally different perspective. Yep. And I'm
Yeah.
having to be a different part of me that I've never been able to, or I've never allowed myself to tap into. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm meeting myself as he's meeting me, and he's meeting himself as he's meeting. It's like we're both just really in this. And it's such a, I know that our story is very different than most. I don't think I've ever heard, even a functional medicine doctor has been like, I've never heard this before. Like, I have a sex and intimacy coach who's a client of mine, and she's like, literally, no one's ever said what you're saying. So, this is just it's such a nuanced, but also different perspective. Yet, I also know just from the years of work we've done together,
Mm.
we would not be in this place together had we not worked on ourselves before we met and then also while we were working together and becoming who we are today. And
Yeah.
so I will say, whenever someone says like marriage is hard, I was like, ooh, that's a choice. You decided that that has to be that way. It doesn't have to be hard. And I don't think of even our going through some of the hardest stuff last year. I never once thought like, oh, marriage is hard.
Mm.
It also doesn't like it doesn't have to be easy either. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's just
Rainbows
all
and
ease and
unicorns every day.
flow.
Yeah.
Right. That's not how it works because humans aren't like that. Women's cycles aren't like that. Like if women's cycles were like that, then we could talk about that. But like we're not meant to be that way. Women are just we're always different. Every day we're different. There's something
Mhm.
different about us. And men are like, okay, but I'm the same every day. Could we just stay that way? That would be super great.
Yeah, yeah, except for my husband. He's not. Yeah, that's so
But it's
beautiful.
really, I think if, at the end of the day, what I like to tell people is if you're not fighting about something every once in a while, you're not talking to each other. And I'm not saying fighting
Hmm.
isn't like brawling. That's not what I'm
Hmm.
saying. Is like if you're not disagreeing, you're probably not talking about anything,
Like
or
really
you don't have
connecting.
anything to
Yeah.
stand on, or you're not interested in something. But
Hmm.
my favorite thing about him is a lot of his man gen tendencies, but also just his scientific mind. He's always being the devil's advocate about things.
Mm.
And sure, it can drive me nuts, but it also makes me think about things like, why do I believe that? Is that true? I wonder, is like, where did you come up with that? Because he's always learning and growing, which means we're always talking about something different and having a different conversation and seeing where we sit on things and changing and growing and being with each other.
It
So I think
sounds
it's a choice.
it's exciting and alive and real. And when you were talking about hard, I really started to swap the word hard the last couple of years. And this is my work with my clients too. Like, is it hard or is it honest? You know,
Yeah.
and when I share something on social and someone says, "Oh, that's so vulnerable," I'm like, vulnerable. I definitely value the word vulnerability, more importantly, the intention of it. But I'm like, is it vulnerable or is it honest? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I'm in the era of honesty right now, right? And that's what this show is. Again, I don't really translate this as much on social, a little bit in my stories, but I honestly don't have the time. I'm like, I don't really
Right.
care. Like, just
Right.
come in here and drop in deeply. And I'm so grateful this show continues to hold on to such a beautiful, loyal listenership. And I mean, it's amazing. 7 years later, like that we're still here and and
Wow.
and growing and evolving right alongside each other. But yes, is it hard or is it honest? So the relationship that I'm calling in, let me just claim it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The relationship that is coming in with ease
Mhm.
is honest. And
Mm,
that I can do all day long because that's like my favorite
that's
communication. It's like it's
yes.
everything. And when someone's honest, and I know they have the capacity to be with my honest, it's
Mhm.
like we can do anything together.
Yes, I agree. I've been thinking a lot about this lately, is
Mm,
especially with this last year of my husband and going through all the stuff he's gone through. Stuff has come to the light that hasn't been honest
mm,
from him because he was so worried that I would leave or that I wouldn't want him anymore or that if he was truly honest with me about something that I wouldn't be able to hold that for him,
mm,
which is so fascinating because my through line for my whole life is radical honesty. And
mm.
radical is not like out there. Radical is actually root.
Yes.
That's what radical means is like the root of something. It's going back to its innate nature. And that's what I
Mm,
keep thinking about is if I have any flavor of I'm unsure of how where I stand with someone, I'm going to say, "Hi, what's going on? What's the deal here? Like, what do
mhm,
we need to clear? Is there anything we need to let's talk about it because I want to
mhm,
know the truth. I want to know the radical truth behind it so
mm,
that I can go, at least I can then say, "Oh, well, then that's not going to fit for me." Great,
mhm.
as long as we know that. But it's not about let's just try to make it okay for people to understand. It's me sharing about how much I hated my face. Someone wrote me back on my message and they were like, that felt really hard to read.
Mm,
And but at the same time, she said, because I can't believe that you could ever feel that way,
mhm,
although I feel that way still.
mhm,
And I was like, that's the radical honesty. That's like, I'm just going to say it, not to be vulnerable. I'm not going to vomit my vulnerability all over the internet, but I am going to say something that feels really honest and true to me. And if you
yes.
don't like it, let's talk about it or don't.
Exactly. Can we just have it be that straight?
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of a conversation. I remember this was years ago. This was actually 2020, maybe 2021, early 21. That's right. Yeah, spring. And I was very upset over some things that were said over this lunch in Santa Barbara one day. And I'd driven home and I was kind of like, spewing on it. Back then, I wouldn't have had the more honest conversations. And this
Hmm.
person was a very high-end coach. That's how she refers to herself still. And so I finally kind of disclosed it. I got really brave and I was all shaking and now I can't even relate to that version of me. But
Right.
back then it was a big deal, right? It felt confrontational. And I was like, is it or is it just communication? Anyway, but it was new and so I finally said it and she goes, "So when did you have that thought?" And I was like, "At your birthday, like 3 weeks ago." She goes, "So you chose to suffer for 3 weeks rather than just have a conversation about it?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, that's actually really good." Now that was a little bit of gaslighting. Let's be clear. However, she was correct, right? Like it was me choosing to suffer because I didn't want to be honest,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then the more honest that we are, the more that we can actually see so clearly where others aren't. And it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that it's a judgment. It's just, again, that frequency fit that you were talking about a little bit ago. So as we wind our way out of this beautiful portal that's been so fun, I would love to have you back because I feel like I could, we also just need to hang out. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Can we do that?
Yes, for sure. For sure. You spoke that really briefly about, relationships, seem to fall apart or fade away when we're on this trajectory of growth and evolution and tender surrender and all the things. So, yeah, tell me what that journey is like for you, because I know that I've been navigating some pretty deep waters the more that I get to know myself. And some of it is not easy for me to see about myself. And I can see the entanglement of how it even happened. And I can see where I might have chosen the opportunity over my deep intuition. And you know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, I could just get to be that honest with myself and first forgive myself, but then also recognize, oh, what a gift. And this is
Yeah.
still not a frequency fit, right? And that
Mhm.
contract has served its purpose. And so I
Right.
can close it with honor, with gratitude, with reverence, and hope that I learned a lesson.
Mhm.
So, yeah, anything in there. I love how I don't really need to ask you a question. You can just riff.
Yeah. Well, I think we're very connected that way.
Hmm.
I can see how much fun we're going to have together.
Yeah, me
And
too.
what just came up for me was that my husband told me from the very beginning of our relationship, every person is here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I could say that over and over and over again, but never believe it. And I had a friend of mine recently that I lost because her husband is a massive narcissist, and it just about crushed my soul to watch them walk away.
Mm,
And she was the first person I ever said, "You are my best friend,"
mm,
since like high school, I think.
mm,
And she said it back to me and she's like, "You are my best friend." And we got so honest and so deep. But I had to look back on it and go, yeah, but there was also a lot of trauma bonding in it
mm,
and things I wouldn't now look at and go, oh yeah, that's okay. No, wait, we need to stop doing this because this is just actually making it this worse. This isn't
mhm,
helping anything. But it taught me just how deep I can go because I lost three friends of mine when a friend of mine died at 28 of an
mm,
aneurysm, and the other two said I didn't grieve correctly. So they left too. And so I just shut down at 28 and went, I don't
oh,
want women friends anymore. Screw this. I'm not
mm,
interested. No, thank you.
mm,
And then over time, I just built up that like wall around me that was like, nope, you can't get in. I'm not letting you in here. And I
mm,
finally let someone fully in. And then her
mm,
husband took her away, which was just like, okay, am I learning from this? What am I learning from this? Like, okay, no more trauma bonding, radical honesty. Like, I'm just going to
mhm,
say, if you don't like it, that's okay. And
mm,
I was realizing this is actually coming around to something that I didn't even think it was, but fun. Um, I have a gift of seeing people for who they will be,
mm,
which can be a gift and a curse, especially working with clients. I can see the end for them, which I'm not going to tell them, but I can see it for them. And I realized I had become friends with her future self, not her current self. And
mm,
I was trying to hold her to a standard that someday she's going to be able to be held to. But
mhm.
I was doing her a huge disservice by being friends with her future self and not current.
Yes.
And now that I know this and I'm so clear about this, I am meeting people where they are now instead
Yes.
of where they will be. And it's such a difference in the way we can communicate and the way we can grow together that
Mm.
I'm just like not interested in certain friendships because I'm like, I'm good. I'll help you. I'll be in community with you, but I don't need to be in the depths of a friendship with you.
That is such a good distinction. Being able to recognize that that gift, that skill that you've been bestowed of being able, the brand strategist, right? Like the
Mhm.
vision of like, oh, a year, 18 months, 24 months out.
Right.
And you're like, it doesn't mean that you don't see it. It's just that, yeah, I'm not going to engage in that right now. So
Yeah.
either I'm going to meet you right where you are because this is serving me, it's serving you, it's this beautiful sort of, cosmic chemistry of our evolution,
Yeah.
or not. Peace out.
Right. Yeah. And not making either of them bad or wrong, which I
Yeah.
have a lifelong thing. We could do a whole episode on just that. But it's being able to really go, it's okay. This is all it is. They were here for
Mhm.
that thing. They taught me that thing and how beautiful that I
Mm,
got a moment to learn that thing.
mm,
And now I can go find people and what's crazy is as soon as it happened, the portal opened to this other beautiful group of women that there's no way I would have found had I still been in this other relationship because
mhm,
she wouldn't have been at the level that they are. Not that,
Hmm.
again, that there's other that levels, but she wouldn't have been able to hang. Like it would have been a just
No
totally different
capacity.
dynamic.
Yeah, no
Right,
capacity.
exactly. Hmm.
Yeah, think about that too, because there have been definitely some big shifts in my life. I think actually any of us who's halfway awake and aware right now, all of us are going through something like this. And even in our own immediate families, and of course our intimate relationships, and certainly our circles of friends, and it's really beautiful, right? To just kind of honor it all and to recognize that I'm not alone in this.
Mm.
But just for me, I just really like to keep my spiritual hygiene really in check of like, okay, making sure that ego is not in there, saying
Right.
it's like, oh, I've evolved past, right? And then the hierarchical sort of
That doesn't
sneakster.
work.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
exactly. And I don't hear that coming from you, but
Yeah.
but I definitely went through that in the middle of my awakening, which is an ongoing, not a finite thing. And that's everyone listening to the show. And 21 and 22, like yeah, I didn't know it. Yeah, it was a total blind spot to me, as ego will be. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like more interested in dressing the part and looking the part and showing everyone how much I'd
Hmm.
arrived and because I was shifting so much. But
Right.
at the same time, it was like, that was not embodied.
You're like, oh, cutie, you got this.
Exactly. That's what Mother
You'll figure it
Ayahuasca would do to
out.
me too. She's like, "Oh, good girl," right? Like, but like when I was actually a really good girl.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, yeah, so much to learn about ourselves. The mirror is always out.
Mm,
And instead of me thinking that this is my take, I don't feel like I'm being tested. I don't feel like it's that. I don't believe in that. Doesn't mean it's not true. It's just not my way of going in the being in the world. But I do believe that they're catalysts on our path. And the
mhm.
catalysts show up as the reflections of anything that's triggering me, that's got me up and, in some sort of, little tussle,
Yeah.
and just all upset. Like I woke up in a war this morning around lots of things around manufactured weather and all of that and what it did to my roses. And I'm just like, oh my God. And so I was like, I had to be with all that. And then I wanted to like spin it out. And I was like, oh, wait, be with this right now.
Yeah.
Just be with this. Like, so I slowed down the rhythm, I increased the resistance, and I just like with my heartbeat almost, and I just put my hand on my heart and I was like, oh, I'm so scared, right?
Yeah.
All the feels. And so the catalyst is really just, in my opinion, like, hey, this is where you are right now. No judgment, but like you can choose to integrate who you say you are, what you
Yeah.
think you've learned or not. But
Right.
just know that this is just a beautiful catalyst for you just to see. This is just meeting yourself right now. And
Right.
so, yeah, I don't know if there's anything in there in our last final words. Not that I'm rushing out, but
Yeah.
anything on that little bit.
Yeah. I think the universe likes to ask us if we're ready. So
Yeah.
every time we step into that next version of ourselves or that next part of ourselves or that next knowing or growth edge or whatever it is that we're moving toward, the universe likes to look at us and say, "But are you sure?" And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't think it's a test, but I do believe that there is that like really standing firm in it and going, yes, I am actually. And
Mm-hmm.
so every time I've done a really
Mm.
big leap into whatever that is, something always comes up and is like, but are you sure?
Oh, I am so in it right now because I can feel there's some really big shift happening for me on like a deeply intimate
Hmm.
personal level. Um, and I don't know timelines. I'm not attached to any of that, but I can feel it. And I'm like, oh yeah. So every area in which I think someone's going to come save me has to show up, right? Because it's
Funny
all,
how that
oh,
works.
funny how that works. It's around me embodying my inner king, my inner queen, right? And like coming into my sacred inner union,
Well,
which
do it
really is,
now so you don't have to do it later. Goodness gracious.
well,
Like,
he
I'll
won't
clear
be
it all out.
attracted to anything other than that, right? So it's
Right.
like, oh, thank you. Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
highest self, for walking me through that. You didn't have to
Mhm.
be so rough, but I get it. I guess I had to see it that
Well, it's
way.
like putting on the dressing. You know how they, I was just thinking, you know how women in India, when they get married, they have all of the other women dress them and put bindis and like do all of the tattoo, the henna tattoos, and like they get fully dressed for their wedding.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really what you're doing as you're stepping into that part of yourself, as you're calling in that person. You're allowing all of these things to just dress you for that day that you're ready to walk down whatever aisle that is, proverbially or
Hmm.
truly. And I think that that's all it is I have to be in my fullest form for meeting this person where they are too. Because I wouldn't
Exactly.
have met Dan had I not gone to Bali and said I would go to summer camp and like be open to possibility. And I didn't even know he liked me. I was like, you're such a child. Like, there's no way that you could like me. Like, you look like you're 12. What are you talking about? But really, it was me going, wait, but I'm actually ready for this.
Mm.
And it doesn't look like what I thought. Well, now it does, but like it didn't. And thankfully, I saw this guy the way he is now when I met him, and
Mm.
everyone else was like, he looks like he could be your son, Melanie. I was like, I know, but like there's a thing here, and I promise you at some point you'll see it. Now I'm like, ha ha ha, I win.
Oh. Such a wild journey. You've literally had like two
Mhm.
marriages in one. It's like such a
Oh my
bonus.
gosh.
So much fun.
Kind of,
Gosh.
and also a lot.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, honest.
It's a lot. Well, the funny thing is at one point he finally looked at me and said, so you thought this whole time that you were a lot. Well, look at me.
Ta-da!
I'm a lot. I'm like, my a lot meets your a
Mm,
lot. Look at that.
yeah, but your a lot has the capacity to be with his a lot. So there.
Exactly, which was the
Yeah.
whole idea, because we're just mirrors for each other.
Yeah.
And like marriage is just a big, huge mirror to go, but you need to look at that. This is another thing
Mm,
to look at. You can't hide this. And I see so many couples now. We work with a lot of couples doing medicine work. And they come in and there's so much hiding. There's so much
mm,
fear. There's so much worry of like, oh, but if they find that thing out about
I
me, they'll
know.
leave. Or if they do the abandonments. I mean, there's so much stuff in that.
Mm,
Yet, when we are our clearest and most honest selves, oh my gosh, marriage is a totally different game to play
yeah.
because you're playing it actually as partners together, not, ooh, but I can't, there's no tiptoeing. It's just,
Yeah.
hi, this
Yeah.
is me.
Yeah.
You now
Yeah.
know all of me. There's nothing I can hide from you.
Mm,
And how beautiful that another person can know me fully.
mm.
Mm. That's
Aho.
what I wish for everyone is that
Mm.
feeling. Mhm.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, you're planting seeds in my field of marital
Mm.
honest bliss. I so appreciate that. This is like, well, you want the full send or you want 1 gram? I feel like, ooh.
Exactly. Look at her wrapping this all the way up like at the beginning.
Yes. Oh my God, that was actually quite good. Is there anything else that feels like it wants to be shared as we get like ways in which to connect with you for those who feel called?
Oh my gosh. Well, right after this episode airs, I will be getting in a car with my husband for 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And we're driving to 27 cities in 41 days. And my goal is to hug 400 people in 41
Mm,
days.
mm, wow, my gosh.
So
And what is that? Is that a tour?
yeah, so we're doing
Okay.
a thing we're calling the Brilliant Rebel Tour just
Hmm.
because it's our community. And we realized a lot of people need local community.
Yeah.
And so, in order for us to have an online community that does local events, we were like, well, what if we just go to places and go, okay, we're going to be in Asheville for these 2 days. Who wants to meet for a sound bath or breath work? Or who wants to get
Mhm.
eyes on some really cool work that people are doing in this community? Or how can we give back to a local charity there? What can we do to bring the conscious community together in
Wow.
each of these spaces so that then they can have people to talk to locally
Yeah.
about what they're doing? So it's not just like, oh, I go online to meet my community. So we had a wedding to go to in Northern Ohio, and I want to go see my parents because my dad is finishing chemo for metastatic prostate cancer.
Mm.
And we were just like, well, why don't we just do it as a drive and we'll go see people along the way? So yeah, it just became a
Okay.
5 week road trip.
Amazing. Are you guys coming through Austin?
No, we're
Yeah,
not. We
because
were
you were
just
just,
there
I
for
know
the
you were just there for a retreat. Okay.
wedding.
So you're
It's
based
an
in
East Coast
Florida.
tour.
Okay, East
Yeah.
Coast tour. Okay, great. And then where can people find more information on that and then connect with you?
Thebrilliantrebellion.com and
Okay.
then thebrilliantrebellion.com/tour if you wanted to go
Okay.
see where we were going to be. And I'm just Melanie Spring everywhere. So
Beautiful. I love it. A spring in your step. And you've definitely brought a spring of joy to a wellspring.
Michelle
Um,
Spring, done.
oh, I love it. Such a joy to connect. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
taking the time to come on Fire and Soul and share your magic.
Thank you for having me. This has been a really beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Mm.